Here's something that might surprise you, Ben. Ulysses S. Grant, often remembered as a failed president, was actually a pioneer of civil rights legislation nearly 100 years before the civil rights movement of the 1960s.
That's fascinating, Pappy. How did a Civil War general end up becoming such an unexpected champion for civil rights?
Well, what's really interesting is that Grant's military experience actually shaped his approach to civil rights. He saw firsthand how black soldiers fought for the Union, and when he became president in 1869, he used that same decisive leadership to protect African American citizens.
Hmm. Tell me more about how he actually implemented these protections. What specific actions did he take?
So get this. He didn't just make empty promises. He established the Department of Justice specifically to enforce civil rights laws and sent federal troops to crush the Ku Klux Klan in the South. He even pushed through the 15th Amendment in 1870, guaranteeing voting rights regardless of race.
That level of federal intervention must have caused some serious pushback at the time.
Oh man, the resistance was intense. But here's what's remarkable. Grant didn't back down. He supported the Civil Rights Act of 1875, which tried to guarantee equal treatment in public accommodations. That's nearly 90 years before a similar legislation would finally succeed.
So, with all these progressive policies, why do so many historians consider his presidency troubled?
Well, that's where things get complicated. Despite his personal integrity, Grant's administration was plagued by corruption scandals. The Credit Mobilier scandal involved massive railroad construction fraud, and then there was the whiskey ring, in which government officials took bribes from distillers.
That must have seriously undermined his ability to implement his civil rights agenda.
Exactly right. And then the Panic of 1873 hit, triggering America's first major industrial age depression. Imagine trying to protect civil rights while banks are failing and unemployment is soaring across the country.
Speaking of challenges, what about his Native American policy? I understand he tried some reforms there too.
Yeah, his peace policy was well intentioned, but ultimately problematic. He wanted to reform the corrupt Bureau of Indian Affairs and find peaceful solutions. But the fundamental issue of forcing tribes onto reservations remained. It's another example of how good intentions couldn't overcome the deep structural problems of the time.
That seems to be a recurring theme in Grant's presidency: noble goals meeting harsh political realities.
And you know what's fascinating? His final chapter really captures this complexity. While dying of throat cancer, he raced to complete his memoirs to provide for his family. Mark Twain published them, and they're considered one of the greatest works of American nonfiction.
How do you think his presidency's legacy resonates with current events?
Well, look at the issues he grappled with: voting rights, racial justice, and the role of federal power in protecting civil liberties. These are still front and center in our national debate. His presidency shows both how far we've come and how persistent these challenges are.
That's quite a shift in perspective from the traditional view of Grant as just a failed president.
Exactly, and recent historians are really starting to reassess his presidency. Yes, he was politically naive and trusted the wrong people. Still, he was also trying to build a more inclusive democracy at a time when that was incredibly difficult and dangerous.
So, what do you think are the most important lessons we can take from Grant's presidency today?
I think the big takeaway is that progress isn't linear. Grant's presidency shows that even after a civil war fought partly over racial equality, those gains can be fragile. It took another century for many of his civil rights goals to be achieved, and we're still working on that project today.
That's a powerful reminder about the ongoing nature of social progress, Pappy.
And here's what I find most relevant, Ben. Grant's story shows that personal integrity and good intentions, while crucial, aren't enough. You need political skill to achieve lasting change. But it also shows that even failed attempts at progress can lay the necessary groundwork for future generations.